Call this meeting to order. Good morning. It's 8:30 on Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. This is the meeting of Sandpoint Arts, Culture and Preservation Commission. And it's now called to order. The roll call for the record, I am Chairwoman Kelly Susness, presiding in the White Pine Conference Room in City Hall, 1123 Lake Street in Sandpoint, Idaho. The commission members who are present are Barry Burgess, Anna Combs is on Zoom. Lauren Wiedemeyer is here. Kate McAllister, Caitlin Shook is here. Healy is here. Healy Gray. Mike Lithgow is on Zoom, and Rick Decker is here. So we have a full house. Yay! Thanks for coming, guys. All right, onward to meeting minutes approval. We will now proceed to the approval of the minutes. The commissioners last meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the April 9th, 2024 meeting.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Great. All right, moving on to the financial report. Can you give us the numbers for the financial report?
Absolutely. So this is numbers are reflective of an April 30th date. So in the arts downtown, we have $180,418.08. In the Northern District, $100,118.08.
Are there any questions on that? Let's move straight on. So let's see, old business, but we do have plenty of new business. 3, the Arts, Culture and Historic Preservation Commission. We'd like to talk about participation on projects and programs. Do you want to some overview of that?
So I just have a quick word map that I put together, and the summer weather is going to be upon us soon, and this is our opportunity to be able to get some of those programs up and running. And when we have arts, culture, and historic preservation all activated at the same time, it's just strategic plan after strategic plan on how we can all accomplish these things together. And so we have our once a month meeting, and that's kind of where we're all playing that advisory role. But then we also do every Monday. It has been a historic preservation work team, but we've talked about just turning that into a general arts, culture, and historic preservation work team. And we pivot according to which project we have going on. We tried kind of breaking it up into different teams and then different meetings, but pretty soon it got pretty overwhelming having multiple meetings a week working on things. So we're going to kind of try it with that style a little bit. And one of the things, Ellie and I just wanted to make sure that you guys are all feeling comfortable and feeling involved. And life is really busy, so sometimes it works better for some people to play more of an advisory role, and for some, they want to be more involved in projects. And so we just wanted to kind of talk about some of the things we have coming up, and whether you guys want to talk about what participation level you want to have during this meeting, or you can contact Ellie or myself and let us know. The biggest thing is being able to achieve all of the work that we have and doing it in accordance to Robert Rules of Order and not violating quorum, rules, but also making sure that everyone feels that they're a huge part of things. So I think that's the balance that we're always looking to achieve. So at any time, if you guys feel like you're not, being in the loop on things, or you want to be more involved, please let us know. So right now, up in the right-hand corner with historic preservation, we have the walking tour brochure, and then we're going to get an update on that. The orchid nomination, we've all decided to nominate the Bellwood building, which is our current Ponderay winery. Julie Myers and Steve, the owners, they are so excited about this opportunity. And we had a volunteer from our community want to help support the process, Carrie Logan. So she was on the Historic Preservation Commission for years. And she volunteered to write the nomination, and Carrie has done that historically. And that was a huge help considering the projects that we have going on. So what will happen is once she gets done with the nomination, she'll give it back to us, and the Arts, Culture, and Historic Preservation Commission will be formally submitting it to Orchids and Onions. And I hope you guys are okay at how I send out information, and then if you guys have a concern or questions, or if you're excited, you can always respond back on that.
Yeah, let's just check in. Is that working for everybody, having
Sure.
the updates, and then you just respond accordingly?
Okay. Call for information on residential properties. We're going to talk a little bit about that. That's on the agenda today, and we're really excited about how that's coming along. And then one of our biggest concepts we have is the idea of a local historic district for downtown. That is one of the goals in the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan right now is in a workshop process with planning and zoning and the council. They're going chapter by chapter. Community is welcome to be there to provide any public input. And
So planning and zoning is actually having meetings?
So the way they're doing it is council and planning and zoning are all in the same room, and they're going chapter by chapter.
But it's not, so it hasn't gone to P and Z for approval yet.
well,
Actually, it passed planning and zoning
yeah.
months ago. So now council is doing the deep dive to make sure that and I've been to
Yeah, Ellie's been a champion on.
3 meetings so far. It's probably going to take maybe 2 or 3 more to get through the chapters. It's been good. There's been public participation and lots of good questions from council. So moving along,
Excellent.
we'll get it approved.
And then I have committees and commissions up there. That's actually a role at the city that I've taken on. I've helped support all the onboarding of the new committees and commissions as well. And so sorry, this is a little word map that I had internally. But I love to work with urban forestry and heritage trees on there, because once the Urban Forestry Commission is up and running, you guys will be working with them on making sure that the outstanding tree brochure, all of the heritage tree programming is, up and running and done at a level that makes sense to you guys. That's a really exciting program. We have a new urban forester, Eric Bush. He's fantastic. We're working with him on a couple of other projects as well. Public arts. We always have up there, and we're going to get to it, but that work on the public art policies and procedure. A huge one. Build strategy plan for SORA funds. We've started to work on that a little bit, but kind of that long-term plan on what we want to do with those funds with the Sandpoint Urban Renewal District. The artist roster, this is a concept that's new to me, but happens in a lot of communities throughout the nation. And what that is you create a set of criteria, almost like an artist call, and you ask the artist to, throughout the community to submit if they're interested. And if they, qualify to be on that roster, when we do a call, we can automatically plug into that roster. And it really helps support the city's procurement process, but it also acts as a artist directory. And so I encourage all of you, when you have time, to go online and look at other communities' artists rosters. I'm really excited about this idea. It's a bit of a front load work, but I think it's going to really help our calls moving forward. So I'm going to actually have meetings today with our Cheryl Hughes, our procurement and solicitations officer, and work with her on how to streamline our art calls a bit and make sure that we have language in there that lets us have a little bit of flexibility when it goes to council and there's changes that are requested, or if community input comes at us that makes sense and we need to do any adjustments, And additionally, start working on that artist roster. Really, really brilliant moment, to be able to put that together. And then we have our community-driven art program, and I think of that as the vehicle, and that particular program underneath it is the Paint the Plows, which is really exciting. So just as a reminder, we're going to be partnering with Creations on this. The partnership part for them will be the going ahead and having artists enlisted through Creations, doing the outline, and then the community can come together and paint the plows. There's going to be a Yeti and a moose, but then there's also 4 blades. So I'll get back to you kind of on that, the final idea. Things that need to be done ahead of time, though, the shop will be making sure that they're all cleaned, and then we need to prime them so they're ready for creation. So does anybody want to go out to the shop towards the end of the month and prime them with us?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay, so Rick.
I'll do
Kate, anybody else? Awesome.
Are they done with the plows?
They are, yeah.
Are we sure?
So I'll send out an email looking for when your guys' availability is, and we are able to actually have them painted at the shop.
Great.
And then I'll let you know where that is located as well. I believe it's out Airport Way. I have not had that
Yeah, I
experience.
work out there.
Okay,
Kudos.
awesome. Yay, I'm excited. And they are talking about Fridays being better because it's less busy in the shop.
Sure.
So we'll get that scheduled, but I think it's going to be just a really fun idea. So with community-driven art projects, it's where the city finds funding for the project. We give permissions, and then the community is the artist, or we partner with an organization. And I think it's a really fun, low-hanging fruit concept. So this is just a little bit of scratching the surface on different things that we have going on. At the beginning of every meeting, I'll continue to come present to you guys what's kind of in the docket, so we can be well positioned and organized. Was there anything else? The walking tour brochure does anyone want to be involved in that process right now, a little bit at a higher level than just getting updates right now?
I'd like to from the tech side,
Perfect.
from more of that pocket space, get back on there,
Okay.
update what we have, and maybe add the art tour.
Okay, I love that. And then could you help support the residential call for art? Like if Hannah has any questions on that Google form?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. Missing anything?
Don't think so. But then just, we just want to make sure that everybody is comfortable with their level of involvement, because there's some of us that, are working on things every week, and we don't want to feel like we're stealing all the thunder or stealing all the work. But I know everybody's busy, so it's nice that we have the ebb and flow of, people that are available and,
Well, you're not stealing it.
All the-
Obviously, if we're not stepping up, we're giving it to you.
well, everyone has such great talent in this group. I just, don't want anybody to feel left out or.
Well, I'll work on policy and procedure. We already talked about that.
Yeah.
That's why you wanted me on here.
Staring
I
back
I know,
at you.
And it was super exciting. We had another work group, the public art work group that went on a field trip out to the parking lot, which we'll talk about in a bit, and that was really great to have that group there.
Yeah, and if you guys feel like you need more emails, I try to kind of wait when I have enough content and shoot one out like once or twice a month. But I certainly don't want to bombard you. And there's also, if you want to know more about what's happening at the city, you go on the website sandpointidaho.gov. Under e-notifications, you can sign up for anything of interest. And it's a really great thing. It will just shoot you emails when things are happening. I also wanted to introduce Kelly Christensen. She's with community planning and development. You're the administrative assistant, but she's so much more. Local amazing archivist, historian, enthusiast. Cammy's gonna always be in our life. We'll never let her go. But eventually, I believe, Kelly, you're gonna be supporting us by clerking the
Yes.
meetings.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to introduce you all.
Well, I'm Kelly. I was born and raised here. So my family's been here since 1937. So my dad grew up in Ponderay, my mom grew up in Renco, and I'm staying with my dad right now. So I got this job with the city in a week and a half. And so my husband retires July 1st. We've been in Boise for the last 30 years. And then he and our son Ben will be up here. But I love history. I love my Idaho history, my Sandpoint history. Just done a lot of research on all of it as much as I can. I do the family genealogy. And so I love just the history behind the genealogy. And I'm working right now to get on the board for the Bonner County Museum. So I have a meeting with Jennifer this week. So excited about that. I love our museum. It's just so special for as small as it is. It's
Tell them a little bit
amazing.
about your experience with archives with the State Museum.
Right. So the frustrating part about archives is that they don't always get saved. And so in 1937, we had a sanitarium in Boise. And Dan at the Idaho State Historical Society and the archives there, he remembered physically looking and holding on to a set of plans for this sanitarium. And he emailed me, and so we proceeded to start searching for this. They've been scanned in, they're digitized, it's not the same. But I spent 2 days in a filthy, dirty repository like the one we have here that is just awful, searching plans. I found all kinds of other cool plans, like Hewlett Packard from the very beginning, and some were from Albertsons, but we never, ever found those plans. And the problem is so at one point, the Idaho State Historical Society and the City of Boise Arts and History decided to go through all of the documents that they had in their archives and determine what the city wanted and what the state wanted, and then and supposedly get everything digitized. And then a lot of things were destroyed after that. So I am not a person that wants to destroy anything. So I looked at that archive, the place where our records are right now out at Woodland. And you need to wear a hazmat suit out there. And I saw maps, and I was looking in drawers, and something needs to be done. We need to preserve those documents. And some of them are, some of them are older ones of Ponderay Lake, or, I mean, it doesn't matter where, if it's just Sandpoint, it could be Ponderay, it could be Bonner, it could be out of Renco, it could be Sago, wherever, but
It takes serious passion it's
Yeah.
amazing.
I have a hard time
Your-
breathing when I think about it.
your knowledge. And so Ken and I have talked extensively because they have this incredible archive room, but the bandwidth to be able to understand it and archive everything, there's some challenges. And so and we have this dream of understanding what the city has for archives that are useful to the community, what the county does and what the museum does, and how do we create that roadmap for individuals that are looking to do residential or commercial research. Can we do some sort of system and understanding knowledge, or can everything be scanned and at the museum? So it's a one-stop shop for research. So we hope that Kelly can utilize
That's what
her
I'm
passion to kind of be the lead and help us further understand that journey. And it's been
Yeah.
something we wanted for about 10 years. So
Oh, good.
you've arrived.
Well,
Thank you so much
it's
for
frustrating
sharing.
when the only place you can go for an old map is the Sanborn map.
Yeah.
That's very frustrating, and that doesn't always tell you what was here. And
But my goal for all of you would be for you guys, and we're gonna develop this, and I'm even though I was at the museum for years, every day I'm learning because research is such a specific thing. But to know how to do the 101 on researching a property. So we're gonna get there, hopefully within the year. So thank you so much. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad you can be here.
Welcome
today.
home.
Thank you. It's marvelous. I'm happy.
Anybody have any questions on any of that? Anna, Mike, anything? Move on then, let's move on to number 4, the historic preservation team updates. So we'd like to update the progress of the walking tour brochure.
This is the last file you had sent me.
Yeah. So, we've got the cover, we've showed that to you. This particular thing is the city beach map that I have drawn from scratch, including, I didn't draw the Old Town site from scratch, but I did digitize that. And what this map is going to be supporting is some history on the summer village that took place at City Beach, first town site, obviously, and maybe talk a little bit about the 40s when City Beach was developed more into what we have today and when the dam came in. So that was kind of exciting to work on, and I'm learning so much. The other thing that we are trying to finish up is photo credit for all of the photos of the downtown buildings and the residentials. That's interesting. I got to go this week, last week, and do some of that research at the museum with Hannah, and that was the first time I'd done that, and it was really interesting, going through that. You see all sorts of other things that you didn't expect to see, and then you go down another rabbit hole. As you always talk about, it's great. But yeah, we're making progress, and
And historically, we didn't have the photo credits on there, so
Right.
we're having to go back through and find every
back through
photo.
and
So it's very grassroots effort. It's been amazing. It's hours of work. And then we're updating photos
right.
with improved photo pictures. And then we're gonna go through all the narratives and have it, essentially make sense.
So we figure we're putting in the time, we're gonna do it right, and
Who's updating the photos?
So we're just within the commission, but we can go through and show you maybe at the next meeting or send it out through an email and get any of your comments too.
What is it like? You're going and
Oh, no,
iPhone?
no. Historic photos.
searching if there's any other historic photos, any archives. Because there's some
Better
copyright
examples.
issues that with some of them. So that's what we want to clear up, is make sure there's.
But not going out there now. taking
No,
photos.
not necessarily. Maybe on some of the residential,
Right.
or like, I think we need to take a dated Cedar Street Bridge. We have the historic. We have the historic Cedar Street Bridge, and then we want to show the bridge as it is today.
Yeah.
There might be a few examples like
Cause there's quite a few talented real estate photographers in town. And so, maybe they want to do something to get their name on it too.
Mm.
Thanks, Fred. And I'm also going to talk about the walking tour, which is the program that supports this brochure. If you all got mine,
Sure.
it's a good time. So I just got back from the Main Street Conference, which is focused on economic development, but it's using art and historic preservation and all those wonderful tools to help activate a downtown area. And it was in Birmingham, Alabama, and Birmingham blew my mind. I mean, the food, how clean the city was, the historic buildings were amazing. But one of the things that I did was I took their historic walking tour, and then I did a ghost tour too for research. And so I'd be happy to share any of my experience with you guys, of course, but I came back with a lot of notes. And one of the things that resonated with me is that we're doing everything right, and we're doing it really well. So that got me excited. I do think our actors should dress up to some extent. I did have the honor of doing a tour with Andrew. We had a group called the Resort City, come in. Did I say that correctly? Resort
Right.
City
Mayors?
Mayors?
Right, it's a commission. Yeah.
Commissions, yeah, and it was, Haley and Ketchum and
Wendy Jackwell.
Wendy,
Yeah.
yeah, fabulous group. And they were really fun to give a tour to because they were super interactive. They loved it. Mickey just like gave me the keys to Macduff's to kind of just like
cool.
have at it. We had the Canada, they opened it up and it was all kind of last minute too, which was super cool. And that's what's so cool about our community. But Andrew's just like such a star.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, and I feel so,
Mhm.
thank you, Keely, for lining up these talented individuals.
Andrew and Michael particularly love it. It's like something that they get just as much as everybody else does. And when I texted him about it, he was like, absolutely, I can make time for that. So they love it just as much as. Does he live there yet? No, he's still in Spokane.
Oh,
We're working
wow.
on it.
Well, I so appreciate it. And so it was fun because I sat down and I picked the tour leader's brain in Birmingham. And he said the first thing that's most important and you've already done is like having an actor be able to lead it because they know how to entertain people and project. And so that was really great. And so I'm really, really excited about our tour and I'm gonna work with our team on maybe ways that we can enhance it even more. For instance, when they were talking about in Birmingham, the detail of the campus leaf, he went back to the story of the Roman time. So like doing deep dives from a historical perspective of the history of the buildings from an architectural standpoint, I thought was really interesting. So that will be very fun. We're talking about doing the tour, like we did last year, the fourth Friday of every month at 10 o'clock. So that's gonna be our standard tour. Are you all into that, y'all? I guess. And then maybe if we have the capacity, we could do more too, maybe on a weekend or we'll just have to see. The other thing that I'd like to do, I think we should brand these amazing volunteers as our historic storytellers. That can totally be like a title.
I will definitely say if we do expand, I would really be interested in maybe talking to Hannah about getting some volunteers from the
Yes.
museum who are equally as passionate. Just because I only have two solid actors right now who are really, really invested, and I'd love to get more, and we can definitely work on that. But spreading the wealth, I think would be really fun. And knowing Michael and Andrew, if you have information and if you can do like, for lack of a better word, little tutorial sessions on like what the deep dive is, they would devour it and be so excited.
And Andrew would reword it.
Yeah, and I love
He'd
that.
make up his own.
And
Oh,
it
yeah.
should be, they should, like, I get into character. Yeah, so I'm really excited to bring back that experience that I had and share that. So if you guys have any further thoughts about the tours, let us know. And I know, and I'll let Hannah talk to this, but we think of this as our signature tour. It's free to the community. It's really to advocate and educate people on our historic properties that we have here. And we'll think of creative ways we can certainly activate the residential tour as well. But I know, Hannah, you're doing some tours through Parks and Rec, is that correct?
Yeah, we just had a meeting with Katie last week to figure out the details. So we will be offering a weekly tour, June through August. That will go into, it's also sort of a general tour, but instead of focusing on the architecture, we'll be focusing more on stories about early residents and the businesses that they owned in Sandpoint.
Kind of like the meat of it. I love that. And Katie is our new Parks and Recreation Superintendent. So she's the new Jason Wiley. What's Katie's? Bradbury. We have a lot of new faces at the city and a lot of exciting energy. So when you come in, you'll probably see a lot of new people. So feel free to introduce yourself. So thanks, Hannah. And I hope you feel better. Are you at Lakeview Park? Everyone knows where you are.
Oh, I'm at home
Oh,
in
you
the
have
jungle.
Perfect.
Did anyone have any questions or comments about walking tour brochure or the tour? Alright. Let's move on then to number 5, the culture team update.
So when we think about culture, I always say we have our indigenous culture, but we have our community culture too. And so right now we're working on a call for information under the Cultural Collective campaign. So again, that's our vehicle, which is about collecting our history and working with the museum to preserve it. So this call for information is about the Sandpoint residential history. We've really never done it this way, so I'm really excited to see what happens. And Rick, I'm so excited you'll be able to support us on this. So, jump in whenever you feel free, but the museum will be the platform, the landing page for where this information will go. It will be done in a Google form, and Ellie and Barry have put together some really beautiful urban sketches of our buildings. And so the advertisement and marketing for this information will look really beautiful, will be enticing, and then it will draw back to our walking tour brochure cover. So I love how we're really branding everything. I think that makes great sense. And so we're kind of in the midst of we have all the questions and we talked about that in our last meeting. So what I'll do is once we have that form together, I'll send it out to all of you for review. And then we'll launch it through all of the city's handles. So that's like social media, on the website, and we'll talk about it at council. And then I'm sure Hannah, you'll post it through all of your outlets at the museum. And if any of you guys at that point would share it through Facebook and spread the word. And what we're wanting to do is get more information about our residential history. We want to find out, is there any houses we need to add to the tour? Is there a ghost in a house? Like, what is it that we're missing? Has there been any great rehabilitation done where a house wouldn't have made it, but now it does? A historic character. So I'm really excited to see how this goes. I'll go ahead and talk about the Detroit. Another thing, one of the things I loved about this session, there were 1,700 people from all over the nation. And this gentleman from Detroit was talking about how he learned about his residential neighborhood and never knew that a famous celebrity had lived there. And so I had asked him, how did they put that information out there? How did they gather that? And he talked about how their city historic storyteller, and I was like, boom, I love that. That's an actual thing. And we'll have that. They go and the bartenders are the oral historians. And I was like, of course. Because it's so different just sitting down and formally with a microphone being like, tell me all about your life. Like it's a little bit intimidating. So that really made me think, what are those other organic environments that are casual and fun? And how can we gather that information or make those connections to people? And so we'll have to think about how to activate all of our local bartenders as oral historians. I love
Or the
that.
barbers, the barbers.
The barbers, yeah, the salon, the gossip. And so I expect all of you guys to be at the bars just documenting. You never knew it, but it's part of your duty.
We need margarita voucher, so. Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to tickle you all with that bit of information, and we can think about how we can further that, but that could certainly be kind of in the fold. So maybe we can let the bartenders know, like, this is information we're looking for, or if you know of anyone, or if this is a moment of connection that you can do with your patrons, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, one of the things when I was researching at the museum is residential does not have a lot of information, and that's just because we don't have the oral history, and it would be so wonderful to have more of that.
I think the end goal would be to have this incredible database that the museum and community can tap into to find out digital resource. Digital.
And it's important, we live on the old McNeil property next to the sledding hill. but that generation is passing. So we don't really, and
Mhm.
because it's, the demographics are so dynamic in Sandpoint, and we are going through such a shift. We don't have the handing over of the history anymore. That's being lost. Because when we moved there, our farmer vice would climb over the fence and tell us all about the children who have lived here and, all of these people. And there were many of these stories to be told, but the people who are telling the stories are now beginning to fade away. So we need another generation to hold the torch, but to make sure they have an awareness of what is there, or what was there, so they can then forward that information. Otherwise, I would worry that now is the time that we may be losing these stories.
That's why this is so
Yeah.
exciting.
So it's a good time to intervene.
Mhm.
Hannah has her hand up.
Oh. Anna, go ahead.
I just do want to add that I'm so excited that we are going to be collecting more information on residential history, but that is only a third of the total process that we're going to have to go through. So there's the collecting of the history, and then there's how do we archive it, and then there's how do we share it. So those are the other parts of the puzzle that we're going to have to think about as we move forward. Is how do we build the capacity for storing and maintaining all of that data, and then what is the best way to get that information back out to the public so they can use it to learn from it.
Are you looking for volunteers to help a session? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's a subtle hint. Yes.
I love that. Sessioning is fun too.
If I might, that same line, the gentleman that ran the Tam O'Shanter for years and years and years and years is very ill. And so a couple years ago, he quit running it. He's my dad's best friend.
Oh, I love that.
And so I just think it's so critical to get, my dad will be 90 in October. And so we just need to get a hold of as many people as we can who are reaching that point. Because like my dad said, everybody out at the Elks Golf Course now is much younger than he is. So, yeah, I just hope we
We need
work
an
really hard on
army
that.
of
I,
people to
it breaks
be
my
out there,
heart
yeah.
to see Phil being, I wish I could sit down with him and he's too ill,
Oh.
so it's like, yeah, there's so many people to talk to.
There's a
Learn
geezer
from.
club, there might be a good source, and then there's a Rotary.
Yes,
I think there are a lot of members in there who'd be more than happy
yeah.
to share what they know, so.
Well, and Mitzi Hawkins is on the Rotary from the Hawkins family. So, yeah, they've been around here forever.
Nancy Rang was essential for
Mhm.
the stories that are pouring out of our building. So,
Mhm.
she's also someone who has extensive
Yeah.
knowledge, not maybe about private residences.
Mhm.
So we've got bartenders, barbers, and then we'll also drive people around in the golf cart.
I think so.
Interview them on the golf course.
Telling you.
I would definitely go
Yeah.
to the Bezos Club.
I mean,
Well,
you,
yeah.
you still have those people, that are in their 70s at this point that, that still have some incredible stories to tell. Jerry Kramer's gonna be here this Saturday at Vanderford's signing autographs.
Oh, I know
And,
that.
his parents they sold televisions in town. When my mom was young, and Jerry's family would let you take home 2 or 3 televisions to try out. And then bring back what you didn't want to use. But so his parents ran, in fact, I think it was where Vanderford's was or somewhere on that street. Gotta ask mom, but he is about a year younger than my dad. And I think he's wheelchair bound now. But if you can, I'm gonna make contact with him on Saturday because we're gonna go get an autograph, and plus he and my dad played football together, so I'm gonna talk to him and see if I can talk to him. If I can call him, and he lives in Boise.
Absolutely. Oh, I think
So,
it's important, and and it is overwhelming to think about all the history that's being lost every day, but it's those little baby steps. And then before you know it, we have a really successful program where we're consistently documenting that. But as Hannah says, it's a bandwidth issue too, right? Like it takes a lot, and to know how, I'm always looking for that low hanging fruit moment, you know, where you're getting a lot of output for a little input. And because time is.
It might be fun to engage high schoolers to sit down with some of that generation, put a top recorder or their iPhone or whatnot in front of them and just ask them questions. And to involve that generation, because they're the ones that need to learn. And I think it would be of great value for them to understand how the environment that they live in has evolved and developed. Easy to do.
Perfect.
All great comments.
Is there any budget or money in collecting?
Good. Maybe Hannah, do you have an answer to that, Hannah?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Rick?
Yeah, is there any money or is there a budget to help collect?
Are we talking about oral histories or artifacts?
Oral histories.
Okay. Not in our operating budget. We are, we do apply for grants. So I have 2 grants that I've written for this year that are related to oral histories, but neither of them will cover the staff time that goes into that. So, and that's what's really tough with a lot of our programs is, there's only so much equipment you can buy. It's really the time that is necessary to make those programs happen. And so just trying to get connected with funding that will cover the time that it takes staff either to conduct the interviews or more often to train volunteers to do that. So to answer your question, there's not a lot. We're always looking for more.
That's what I assumed. Yeah, I was just wondering if we paid for a haircut. The barber's interviewing them and they're getting a free haircut.
Oh, that's quite brilliant. From the city standpoint, we would also have to look at like a sub-grant program. So we'd have to find a larger grant and then create the sub-grant for it. The other thing to think about, I don't know. I mean, how can we tie this into SURA funding? If the history we're gathering relates back to downtown or in the Northern District, and we're talking about our community culture, there could be, but right now for our commission, the SURA funding is all that we have. So yeah, we'll be creative. And I think this is a topic we should continually talk about. And if any of you come across have a great idea, come across a sustainable way another city's doing it, please let us know. Perfect.
Number 6, then, the arts team updates.
Okay, so take you guys, we have quite a few things with arts that we're going to cover today. Just have to create, excuse me, technical thing here.
If you'll excuse me, I need to get back to my other job.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
It's so nice to meet all of you. Thank you for all you do.
Okay, so as Ellie had mentioned previous, we had had a wonderful time in the parking lot, the downtown parking lot. And we worked with Eric Bush. He's actually the project manager for the parking lot. And essentially what we're looking to do is revitalize it, have new asphalt put down, repainting, but the mayor had asked the commission to put their thinking cap on and look for opportunities where our culture can be activated. So a group of us, it was Ellie, Kate, Caitlin, and Barry, we all went out and kind of at a high level understood the parking lot a little bit more. So put together a presentation, just so you can see up here, we have over here it's Farmers Market and Jeff Jones Square, and then Joel's US Bank. And we looked at 3 different opportunities. A is where the kiosk was historically. And there's actually still footings there, and there was a request from Sura and the mayor to have another kiosk be installed. And then we also thought that this area down here, a nice round space, it's just a great gathering space. So if we could be able to have some sort of artful bench or bicycle rack, be really attractive. Any of you please pipe in time. This is what the adjacent space looks like. I think it's important as we're coming up with a cohesive plan for the parking lot, which goes back to wayfinding and placemaking. We understand what the surrounding area looks like in terms of what other art is there, how the space is functioning. So you can see the different colors, Jeff Jones Square, and then we have kind of the magical feel over in Park. So then the west side, over here next to Joel's, there's also a nice little area, and here's a snapshot of it, where we thought a bicycle rack again would be wonderful, or a bench. So there's really not any kind of civic landing space around the downtown parking lot, but it is adjacent, oddly enough. But we noticed a lot of people tying their bikes up to poles at the parking lot. So that's why we felt like it was important to do some sort of bike rack there too. So you'll see there's some rock art here, and a little bit down the way is the moose and the bear as well in terms of adjacent. The other thing that I think is amazing that we talked about in more, not as sustainable long-term, but cost effective is asphalt art. And it's something we don't really have in this community. And cities all over, I mean, I could pull up a million different creative concepts that cities have done, but because it's not like a main road, it's a parking lot, we have more flexibility of doing asphalt art there. And I think it would be a great opportunity to do it and show everybody how effective it is. And we talked about even maybe starting at the kiosk, because that's like what the community is all about. The kiosk can represent like the community, and then there could maybe be rays coming out from that, and maybe it's the seasons, and then it has all the things that happen in Sandpoint that are unique to Sandpoint on the ray. I mean, who knows? This is what I need from you guys. Like, this is our creative time to come up with some really fun stuff. This is where we get to express our creativity, and we're always looking for ways to do that, right? But this is just kind of some fun examples of things that have been done in other communities. This illusion art is like mind blowing, right? And there's so many examples online. You can do kind of artful abstract. I do always want us to be challenged in thinking about placemaking. So when we do something, what's the why behind it? So how does it connect back to who we are as a community? Not that things just, they can be beautiful too, and that's just because they're beautiful, right? There's another concept that's out there too that I really love, and it's called interrupting art. And interrupting art is really art where it makes you stop and pause. And that can be done in so many ways, but I've seen in Spokane, I love these little guys, and I'm sorry I don't have a bigger picture, but they're actually hanging up in trees. And I love this idea of creating a really low hanging fruit art program called Interrupting Art for us, that's a way for artists to put their art out there on loan where it's secure, but it doesn't cost the city a lot of money to install it. So it could be like on a fence, or it can be up a tree. Like, these little guys look down at you and they're kind of ornery. And so we also talked about having interrupting art in the trees. There's a beautiful canopy of trees at the parking lot, some really interesting species that Eric was guiding us through. And then this one tree, it grew up in the chain link fence. There's this really terrible chain link fence that we want to try to remove.
Yeah.
So we talked about getting that removed, but leaving the tree with the chain link and kind of wrapping it so it becomes like an urban art sculpture. So we had some fun playing around with that idea. There's also, if you look across the way with US Bank, they have this gate that covers their trash bins. And we thought that that might be a really great opportunity to ask them, or maybe they would pay for it, let's hope, to do a historic photo of the farm and school, which goes back to history. And it's just amazing because you just look right over there and it's a perfect place for a historic photo, like thinking about like what was there historically. And that was such an important structure. So those are some of the things that we came up with. And I really appreciate all of your input. I think next steps would be getting together and thinking about what the theme is, or, you know, how we want it to look. We have our budget of $180,418.08. And what we need to remember though is it took 7 years to get that money.
Yeah. Just because that is our downtown increment does not mean that's the budget for the parking lot. And we're gonna have to decide, you know, how much we want to spend for, say, for instance, a kiosk, an entry sign and a bench, you know, we have to decide what we want to do, how much money it's gonna cost. If we want to take that much out of that.
What other priorities do we have, you know, that we want to spend that money on for downtown?
Because we've had plans for years for pieces on Cedar, art pieces on First. Even City Beach, because that's in the downtown zone, so that's, we're gonna have to talk.
It'd be great if they built those buildings and holes in the ground so we could get
Yeah,
tax dollars.
so I think it is that URA expires in 2029, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, definitely. So other thing I want to do is try to get that artist roster going, and then I think the downtown parking lot would be a great example of how we can activate that roster. So even if we start with just like knowing that we need like bench and kiosk and maybe a sign, like getting metal artists on that roster might be a really effective way to do that. So we've got a little legwork to do. That I would say that this is probably a number one focus right now. Who wants to be a part of the creative process and what we can do with what we identified? Caitlin, perfect.
All right.
Creative design. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, well, I'll definitely keep you all in the loop on this and super excited about the opportunity. So this is something we always have to remember. We definitely have all of our programs going, but making sure that we're not too overcommitted, because sometimes we'll be pulled in to do a project for the city, you know, whether it's activating a civic space or maybe, you know, the hole in the ground, like what are the art opportunities, or where can we do more interpretive signage, where we can utilize all of our skills. So the other thing that we do in this commission is we approve murals, but we approve art for civic spaces. Jumping the gun a little bit. So that's going to be coming up. But the other thing that's happening right now in terms of public art, and I just wanted to put it on your radar, are the bronze sculptures at Traverse Park. And this happened when this commission wasn't formed. So it's one of those things where my understanding, there were a couple of really wonderful philanthropic individuals who were veterinarians, and they wanted to give back to the community of Sandpoint. So they worked with staff and leadership, and they were inspired by Patrick McManus and Traverse Park and James E. Russell. And so they commissioned a cougar, which has a cub, and a bear. And I'm sorry I don't have images of those. And this was actually presented at council last council meeting, which was May 1st. And so what are these? It's a bear, cougar, and cub. They're made out of bronze.
And it's
they're-
by the same artist who did the pig and.
Yeah, yeah.
Georgia something.
I have an image of that. And so they're gonna be in the playground, and that usually we're a little bit more involved in this process because it's a playground. It was really important that the playground designers and city staff that's overseeing this project and the engineers choose the location. There's a lot of things like safety, like making sure they're in shade. they're cohesive with the play, but also with the theme. And so, I'm gonna keep you guys posted on this project, but it's probably gonna be more of kind of an internal thing, because it's a little bit more complicated. So artists, like Kate was saying, is Georgia Gerber. She's a big deal because she did the pigs. Rachel and Billy, they live at Pine Street Market in Seattle, Washington. And the community named these, so I could see the community, you know, we could have the community possibly name our sculptures. I see a really big celebration that we can spearhead with these sculptures, and maybe even Georgia could come out. But I think it's really kind of a fun concept and a lot to celebrate. So I just wanted to make sure you guys were in the loop on this.
Does Farben Elementary have a mascot?
That's a great question.
That came up at a party the other day. I was farming and everyone's like saying their mascots. I just don't have no idea what.
Said Huskies, baby.
See, yeah, you
Is there a bear?
tried for my mascot. But I don't know what.
Because Washington has the cougar.
So they might not have
Yeah.
it. I'm gonna go.
Like that'd be cool if there's bears.
That would be.
Bring the kids in to that.
That's a great idea.
Gonna find that out.
Yeah, they could become the bears.
They're the bears now.
Tell them.
They might have other ideas, but
I like that idea. It's like, if you do this, this could be representing you.
right?
If you choose. Yeah, that's great. So any comments on the sculptures at Traverse Park?
I missed it. Those were a donation. Somebody.
Donation.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's another thing that happens, which is brilliant, is people a lot of times will come and they'll either they have money and they want to do something, or they have something like the Statue of Liberty and they want to donate it, which was garden art. And a lot of times it's in honor of someone as well. So again, this all is easier when you have a public art policies and procedures, especially at a municipality, and so that's something that we definitely want to work at. And the other moment of approval was in Farmers Park. And that still is something that we can revisit, but we wanted to hold off on approving that project because of policies and procedures. So we'll definitely get going on revisiting that. But civic space is something that individuals who are looking to develop need to have. And according to our code, it's Title IX, Chapter 2. This is E, it's civic space, and I highlighted it. Each building with street frontage shall include 2 or more of the following features. So someone that is looking to, that needs to qualify for civic space can choose 4 of these, so they have to pick 2. So one of the things that can happen could be like an artful bench, and that will qualify for their civic space, or, you know, it could be an artful bicycle rack. So you see some of those. So we have an approval today, and it's the Homestead Village. So this development is at 2025 US 2 in Sandpoint. These are not the exact colors, but this is all kind of wood happening. And these are the art pieces. And they're metal cutouts with a powder coated finish. I'm gonna come back to this, but I'm gonna show you where they're located. There's like that interactive moment.
Yeah.
I think you're, yeah.
Wow.
Technology.
Yeah.
So at the front of the building, there's going to be one placed, and then there are also going to be placed at the sides above each bench. And my understanding was, if you were a family and you had children or kind of thinking about placemaking, you could say, I'm the apartment that has the bear. And a family and a child could really identify with their art and, you know, kind of use it as a wayfinding. So I thought that was really fun. So these are the images that are going to be installed. So open to discussion, commentary.
What's the benefit to the property owner?
In terms of having art, Benefit to the property owner or to the community?
Property. So I guess why are they wanting to do this?
They have to according to the design standards in our code.
Got it.
It's in Senate.
Yeah,
I think it's just in code that they have.
Right.
that.
They have.
but I can tell you why it's beneficial to the community and why we have that in code.
I know why it's beneficial to the community. I'm just,
No,
Yeah.
let's talk about it though, because
Yeah.
if there's anybody watching.
But I think for the person that's doing the property, it warms their heart.
For sure.
Knowing that they're giving back to the community in this,
Yeah.
way, right?
yeah.
Especially that owner.
Yeah.
And where
Yeah.
are these located again? Highway 2? Are these the ones that have been trying to be built for a really long time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it stopped, started and stopped, it started, yeah. Yep.
Didn't
So-
Schweitzer do that with their,
I don't have it
new
right now.
buildings to where they're housing their workforce?
Ponderay?
And if you drive by there, all their buildings have a designated, some kind of logo that speaks to Alpine Village or Alpine Mountains,
I haven't driven by
animals.
those.
Yeah, drive by there, they're following this principle and it's great. It's actually really nice. Yeah. They personalize it.
When they went in front of planning and zoning and council, and I didn't hear any of that sort of thing in Ponderay, but maybe after the fact, they came back in and did something.
So in terms of that, Ellie, you had mentioned it would make sense to kind of explain. So civic space, especially when you're doing like a multifamily, development, it's important to obviously create that moment where people can gather and feel comfortable. And so that's why, you have the plaza and courtyard, and this can be interpreted in many different ways. Like sometimes you'll see a whole park developed. Or there's great examples all over our community and other cities alike, but dining, benches, ledgers, between building entrances and sidewalks, the canopy awning, for weather protection, but I am so pleased that there is public art on there as an option because I've never done a development before, but I imagine there's so many things that you're trying to balance, and to see this, I think it really ignites and sparks probably to that individual. Oh, I really like that idea. And then for us, I think it's incredible because what it does is it really helps hopefully go back and support the local artists in the community. We get to work with them. We can always make suggestions and recommendations, especially if we're at the table in the very beginning. And so I think it's quite a wonderful thing. And I think it's a beautiful thing that you guys all get to be a part of to really make an impact on. So, and Ellie, historically, how many projects had public at the commission approved?
Well, not a lot. I mean, it's been spotty because sometimes we don't. It just goes to council and we haven't really seen the project. Barry, do you remember having any?
No.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, I think it just depends on leadership and to the commission. I think that the commission does need to see it.
I know that we had every time there was a development that came before council, we talked about civic space and green space and what the developer was gonna do. So I know that was a part of the years I was on council.
Yeah, it's always been in policy, obviously, but has it
Have they done it?
come through?
How do you push? If it's public art, it's placed in private. How's that done? It
So.
belongs to the community, so
Well, so right now, we do not oversee public art placed on private property. We only oversee murals placed on public and private property. So that's something we certainly need to understand furthermore when we're working on public art and policy procedures. And every leadership may have a different opinion. I mean, we live in a very property rights state. So that's understandable, but on the other hand, you don't want something really phallic or offensive, being painted or erected, on a property.
I could see that.
Poor Joyce.
Unintended, thank you. So, you know, I actually talked to quite a few people at the conference about that because there were a few people that I can't remember the word, but where they would kind of just go out and they were promoting going out and doing like murals and kind of asking forgiveness later. I can't
Right.
remember, kind of a rogue system. And it's
Right.
like, yeah, I appreciate that tactical art, I
Oh,
guess is
yeah,
the word.
yeah.
And this whole seminar, and I'm like, yeah, but I actually talked with them later on about it. And some of them worked for the city, I think in Alabama, that's where they were presenting from, but they were saying, yes, but it should always go through some sort of authority and checks and balances like a
Right.
commission. So even though they were saying that and promoting that, saying, isn't this neat and wonderful? They still said that and they used that as an example as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it's important, you know, to put this through the commission so that there's no surprises at council or, you know, that's not fair. And
And
check and balances are really important.
absolutely. And everybody at the city, I can tell you, really loves, you know, what they do and they're working really hard to do their job. And sometimes they're just trying to, you know, they're working so hard. So sometimes the communication is always there. And so I'm telling you this because sometimes I get things a little bit late. But know that as long as I'm here in this position, I'll always make sure that you guys are informed on anything that has to do with art and I think all of our team understands too that the process should be going through you guys. So I'll always make sure to have a presentation. And sometimes it might just be in a quick email form, but the best practice is that it's presented far ahead of time and it's gone through a formal process.
And we really appreciate that about you,
So
because it's important to have that staff liaison that is on top of everything.
perfect. So are we approving this?
I could see where it'd be very trending thing. May give other developers an opportunity to expand the notion of having art.
Do you know who the artist is?
I am sorry, I did not.
Okay, just curious, because I know we have a lot of metal workers in our community and powder coating is pretty popular up here, so I was just curious.
I'm definitely, when I have the opportunity to work with them, I'll encourage them to try to source all of this locally. And that goes back to that artist roster and list and directory, right? I can just hand them this list of people in our community that are great to work with that meet the criteria and.
And I know Northwest Handmade would probably be a good source for that, because they do a lot of that sells.
Oh, I love it.
And I think with us more involved, developers are gonna think about more art rather than green space. Cause that's the way developers go. Oh, I have to put this in, here's some green space. But this is cool, actually getting some art on the buildings or involving that, the development.
And what a great way for us to be able to have public art and without having to, you know, they're promoting the cost of that in the groundwork, so.
And if we had a
It's
list,
a
we
huge win.
could pass that on to the developers and they could go through that, think more about art. Yes.
And when I am at the table working with developers, and usually it's more on a historic preservation property, but you know, we'll see how it goes. We've had a huge change with our planning and zoning staff right now. But I will immediately let them know and kind of set the seed of art and say, like, if you're ever interested, you can meet with our commission and they can give you ideas too. And I think that's a great way of accomplishing our goals ahead of time, and they win and we win as well. So I agree. I think that this is just the start of something that can really work out well for everybody.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. So that's
So,
a motion.
I kind of have a question.
Heather. Oh. If we do not know who the artist was on these pieces, do we have any sort of requirement from them to tell us where they source the images? I'm just wondering if there would be any like situation where someone maybe has taken images from online that could be copyrighted. Could that come back on us if we approve this?
That's a
Just
great question.
wondering if there's like,
Yeah. I'll run that by legal, so let's make sure in our motion that it's included, that as we approve this, as long as it's not copyrighted art. Would that make sense? I really appreciate you bringing that up, Hannah.
Yeah, good point. All right, so Cammy, what does?
Do you
this
need a motion?
Yeah. This
I put
motion.
it as an action. Approval of homestead.
Right.
Civic space.
Do you want me to make the motion?
You love making
That's it.
motions.
Great.
I move that we approve the Homestead Village art with the addendum that none of the art can be copyrighted or that it's not copywritten art. And that the Homestead Village developer can go ahead with the art. Once we make sure that it isn't from anybody else's artwork.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second from Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, well, if there's no further comment on that, let's go to general announcements and comments. Anyone have any? Ew.
Yo Reps, next production, Legally Blonde, is opening. a
The
week-
musical.
The musical Legally Blonde is opening a week from this Friday. We've got a ton of local talent. A lot of them, this is their very first time on stage and you're gonna be blown away. So get your tickets at lprep.com, but we're very, very excited. This will be our 5th main stage production of Canada.
So excited.
What would you say that's rated?
I'd give it like PG to PG-13.
Okay,
Yeah, there's a couple of like small curse words and there is like the scene with Callahan, the lawyer, that's a little.
my girls
Nothing.
have probably heard worse, so.
Oh, probably. And if they're okay with seeing kissing on stage.
Okay, just as long as it's not mom and dad, they're all right with that.
I have an update on the building. So for one thing is that we are hopefully getting to install the first set of windows. So, which will be very exciting. So we can take the books away from under the windows to hold them in place. So that we have been very creative with our camouflages. So getting the front windows replaced is our first goal, and I think we're going to achieve this. It's difficult because whatever grants and funding that we received from last year because of the escalation of inflation is a no, right? What it bought you last year is not going to buy you this year. And that's a real challenge for whenever you go to a project like that. Anyway, so I think we can at least get started this year. So I wanted to say that. Then I wanted to announce Jan Pellant is coming back this year to conduct North Idaho Philharmonia and also the youth orchestra. So that will be exciting in August. He's a guest conductor from Prague. He's absolutely sensational, to say the least. And then I'd like to just say that Music Matters Mature is really taking hold, and it's a really fantastic program. I will say, so that's under the umbrella of creative aging. We received a grant. I'm overseeing this, and I've built a choir and for seniors, however, other adults are joining too. And that's engaging that age group into all cultural affairs. We're also working on creating a senior pricing and having all of this so funded so that they have are invited and to participate in all cultural affairs in many ways. But they're also extremely active and really, really hungry. So to have them they perform together with Children Performing for Children at the Canada. And it was really an incredible experience because I believe in multi-generational experiences, and arts and culture is a very powerful tool to do so. Because they're sitting duck and they probably didn't feel they had enough opportunities for them to show, their force. They have a lot of knowledge. and mentorship capacity that was just waiting to be invited. So they've been invited now, so this program is going to, I think, really just going to grow. So that's very exciting. I find this. So I will be flying to Boise to report, and then I'll be going other places as well.
What was the grant?
So the grant is called Creative Aging.
And congratulations, by the way, that's.
And it was really just a small grant, but I just volunteered to say, okay, I'm going to just be teaching this class, and then it's building. And then it's a pathway class to other opportunities. And that's how we're creating a kind of a new workforce, I will want to say, that wants to engage with the younger generation. That's why I say the handing over of knowledge is critical right now. We're at an intersection, and this is why the telling of stories kind of needs to happen now.
Maybe we can plug into that group to
Mhm,
do the oral history
sure.
program if they're active.
But the
in it.
multi-generational, the intersection is important at this very moment in time.
Very good.
And it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy this, to be honest.
Yay. I want to know how Mike hurt his arm.
Well, should we? Yeah.
Had yeah, I got bucked off a horse is what happened. But it
I'm so sorry.
broke a rib and separated my shoulder, but
Oh, wow.
I'm feeling a lot better.
That. But,
You should have a cool story.
I know, right?
Feel better soon. Hannah, did you have any announcements?
Sure. We are planning a membership drive at the museum on June 15th. That's a Saturday. And I'm really excited. We're modeling it after some of the old community picnics that they used to do here 100 years ago. So we're going to have a variety of different fun, like outdoor games. We will have a cakewalk, and we're going to be churning ice cream on site. So it'll be very fun for kids and families. So if you know anyone who maybe has never been to the museum, or who has but would like to know more about what we do, that event will be open to the public, and we are just trying to get connected with more people who might like to become members of the museum.
What was the date on that?
June 15th, it's a Saturday.
And Hannah, we will be, I'll be talking to you because we're creating a historic event, talking about storytelling for Halloween, where we are going to recreate the history of, that building and some of the stories that have happened there. So it's called Finger Foods and Olivia's Lament. Olivia, and so it will be rendered in form of an opera. And we will want to talk to you about setting the stage and the stories that we want to share.
Great, sounds good.
So pencil us in.
All right,
So
anyone else?
I've got one thing. So I've had this picture in my downtown preservation folder for years. I don't know what it's called. I don't know where I got it. I call it a window into history. But it's when you were talking about
Oh, I love that.
the parking lot.
So brilliant.
Or out on the Bay Trail, it would show the mill, what used to be there.
Virtual reality type of.
It's just glass.
Oh, is it
and
really
it's
just
just
etched?
it's just etched on there.
Whoa.
So
Can you put it on
wanna,
the camera so you can see it?
Oh yeah. I want to plant that in your guys' minds.
So that's the thing that
If you can see that, all right.
that's such a new age concept, and truly bringing history and art together. And I think about also digital technology and what do you call those? Where they're hologram. Thank you. So I feel like we need to find a university or, some big tech company to activate that in our community. And we would be a great example that they could, use to show how successful it is. So if anybody could find kind of that sponsor, or, somebody that has some time and loves technology and a ton of money.
Mhm.
These are the eyes that you were getting earlier. Oh, no, I'm getting them.
Right.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Like anyway, yeah.
All right.
And I know they're all West Coast people, right?
Yeah.
Right? So,
We've got a
Something to
company
think
in
about.
town that we can lean on, so.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. Because I think that's such an emerging art area, and we saw a lot of ideas in the downtown waterfront design competition. So there could be like downtown lighting shows, we could have holograms on the lake, like the Titanic could be coming in, you know? Like there's just the paddler, so much that could be fun. And I feel like that's a way that our community could certainly make an indelible mark, but it would just take a pretty large funder. That goes back to maybe a projection art on the back of the Canada. I just know art at that level could be pretty expensive and there's management and it's always changing. So we would need like massive support to make that happen.
We have access to a projection technician.
Oh, perfect.
And yeah, yes. To do that with a little Carnegie. To create an all-around experience. With for some productions, right? You can enhance that, make it a multi-dimensional experience.
That $1
Yeah,
million
okay.
grant we'll find, right? Be good.
Anyone else? And this great meeting. Thanks, everybody, and we're adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you.